This time we are taking you to the rugged mountains of Erzincan province in eastern Turkey. Imagine standing in front of a rotting, abandoned factory in upstate New York in 2005. The paint is peeling, the windows are cracked, and the global corporation that owned it, Kraft Foods, has decided this place is a graveyard. They called it a dead asset. To the boardrooms in Manhattan, the American yogurt market was already settled. It was thin, sugary water packed with artificial colors. But standing there, looking at the rust, is a man who doesn't see a tombstone. He sees his mother's kitchen in the mountains of Turkey. His name is Hamdi Ulukaya. He is an immigrant with a thick accent and a failing feta cheese business. Yet he is about to do the unthinkable. He is about to turn a $700,000 worthless factory into a $14.5 billion empire. This isn't just a business story, it's a documentation of how an outsider used the magic of thinking like an immigrant to dismantle a corporate monopoly. Hamdi Ulukaya was born in 1972 in the Erzincan province of Turkey. In the rugged mountainous landscape of eastern Turkey, your word was your currency and your hands were your tools. Hamdi was born into a family of Kurdish dairy farmers. As a young boy, his life was dictated by the migration of sheep and the ancient process of making yogurt and cheese. In his culture, yogurt was sacred. It was thick, pure, and tart. When he arrived in America in 1994 to study, he walked into a local grocery store and tasted his first cup of American yogurt. He spat it out. He was horrified that the wealthiest nation on earth was eating dessert and calling it health food. That moment of disgust wasn't just a personal preference, it was the realization that an entire industry had become too comfortable to innovate. The experts were blind, and the shepherd was the only one who could see. Hamdi didn't jump into the billionaire leagues overnight. He started in the trenches, launching a small feta cheese company called Euphrates. It was a brutal education. He spent years driving a beat-up truck, delivering cheese to small stores, and learning the cutthroat reality of the American supply chain. He was hearing no from distributors every single day. He was struggling to pay his bills, and the American dream felt further away than ever. But then, in 2005, he saw a piece of junk mail on his desk. There was a flyer for a fully equipped yogurt factory for sale for $700,000. Kraft wanted out. They thought the facility was obsolete. Hamdi looked at that flyer and knew his life was about to change. He had almost no money, but he had clarity. And as we say at 86,400 stories, clarity is leverage. He went to the banks. The meetings were short and dismissive. The bankers looked at his background, a Kurdish immigrant with a small cheese startup, and then looked at Kraft Foods, a multi-billion-dollar giant. They told him, if Kraft can't make money in that factory, how can a shepherd from Turkey? He was rejected by every traditional lender. Most people would have quit, but Hamdi understood that the struggle wasn't a setback, it was research. Every door that closed forced him to sharpen his argument. He eventually found a small business administration SBA loan program. He stayed up for weeks writing a business plan that didn't use corporate buzzwords. He spoke about the truth of the product. He secured the loan, bought the factory, and then did something legendary. He hired 5 local workers who had just been fired by Kraft from that very same plant. He told them, "We aren't here to manage an asset. We are here to start a revolution." Here is the execution secret that built Chobani. Hamdi knew he couldn't outspend Danone or Yoplait on advertising. He had zero marketing budget. So he used what we call the Trojan Horse Strategy. Most specialty yogurts in the US were sold in tiny, expensive health food stores. Hamdi refused. He made a radical demand to grocery store managers. My yogurt must be in the main dairy aisle, next to the big brands. He knew that if he could just get his product in front of ordinary people, the quality would do the selling. He spent 18 months with a master yogurt maker from Turkey, refining a strain of bacteria that created naturally authentic texture without the need for thickeners or preservatives. His first 100 customers weren't elite athletes. They were ordinary moms who realized that for the same price as sugary water, they could feed their children real food. Within 5 years, Chobani had captured 50% of the Greek yogurt market in America. The corporate giants tried to fight back, but they were too late. They had boards of directors and quarterly profit targets that forced them to cut corners. Hamdi had no board. He had nothing to protect and everything to build. He reinvested every penny into the factory. And in 2016, he built a moat that no competitor could ever cross. He gave 10% of the company's equity to his 2,000 employees. He told them, "You didn't work for me, we built this empire together." That wasn't just charity. It was a tactical move that created a workforce that would outproduce any corporate machine in the world. While other companies were seeing strikes and high turnover, Chobani had the loyalty of an army. Today, Hamdi Ulukaya stands at the helm of an empire worth $14.5 billion. He has saved thousands of jobs and fed millions of people real food. The transformation seems almost impossible when you look back at the shepherd boy in the Erzincan mountains. But the decision to ignore the ceiling happened long before the first cup of Chobani was ever sold. He proved that starting small is not a limitation. It is a strategic advantage. So what do we learn from the story of Hamdi Ulukaya? That your disadvantages, being an immigrant, not having connections, coming from a humble village, are actually your greatest moats. They allow you to see the gaps that experts are too comfortable to notice. It proves that the starting point doesn't determine the destination, and that impossible is often just hasn't been done yet. It reminds us that when you refuse to accept the ceiling the system places above you, you don't just break the glass. You build a new building entirely. If this story meant something to you, if it gave you even a small piece of what you needed today, subscribe to 86,400 stories. New documentaries 3 times per week, all under 20 minutes. Tell me in the comments, would you have the courage to bet your life on a factory that a billion-dollar company called dead? I read every single one. And remember, possibility has no postcode. Anything is possible.